What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody? Jeff Fannell, Sports360. Today I will not bury the lead. I believe that Luke Heimlich should be given an opportunity to play professional baseball. Who is Luke Heimlich? Well, Luke Heimlich is a left-handed pitcher from Oregon State University who, by all accounts, has major league talent. Fastball in the mid-90s, command of 4 pitches, and yet he has not been drafted by any major league team, and he has not been able to sign on successfully yet with a professional team, at least to play for them at this point, because Luke Heimlich has a past. In 2012, Luke Heimlich pled guilty to a felony charge of molesting his 6-year-old niece. Heimlich was 15 at the time. And even though he pled guilty, records show, therapist notes, polygraph results, and other documents, records at the time reflect consistent denials by Luke Heimlich, who says he accepted the plea deal in order to avoid a trial and to avoid jail time. Now, according to experts in the field, including juvenile defense lawyers, it is not at all unusual for someone who is innocent to plead guilty to such a heinous crime. Now, his punishment, according to the court system, was 2 years probation. He had to register as a level 1 sex offender. He had to get sex offender counseling, among other things. And after a period of time, after 5 years, his record was to be sealed. Now, by all accounts, Luke Heimlich abided by the requirements set down by the court system throughout high school, and even as a freshman when he enrolled at Oregon State University. He went down to the police department and filled out the necessary paperwork, registering as a sex offender. And yet something went wrong. According to the state police, due to a clerical error in the police department, Luke Heimlich was deemed to have failed to meet his registration requirements. And after this alleged failure was discovered by an Oregon State beat writer, and Luke's sex offender status became known, Luke Heimlich, who was widely considered one of the best pitchers, eligible for the 2017 Major League Draft, was bypassed by all 30 Major League teams. He then returned to Oregon State University for his senior season, and despite another dominant campaign, went undrafted again. And then in August of 2018, he signed with a Taiwanese team in the Chinese Professional Baseball League. But the league nullified that deal, citing his criminal past and the effect of having someone like Luke Heimlich as part of their league. They thought it was bad for the league's image. And then last week, the New York Times on March 7th published an article in which it reported that a Mexican league team had signed Luke Heimlich. But the league had yet to approve that signing, and judging by the statements of the Mexican league president, it seems more likely than not that Luke Heimlich's Mexican league contract will be voided, just as his contract in the Chinese Professional Baseball League was voided. Now, on Friday, when that article came out on March 7th, I posted that article on social media and invited comments, asked a few questions. Should Luke Heimlich be given a second chance? What should it look like? Who gets to decide that? And although hundreds of people viewed the social media postings, only one person responded back with a comment. Perhaps it's because no one cared. Maybe. Or more than likely, perhaps it's because this is a tough story. It's a story about victimization. It's a story about child molestation. It's a story that makes you uncomfortable and angry and furious. But it's also a story about second chances and whether or not second chances should be something that goes beyond concept and is part of our concrete reality. And who gets to decide that? It's a tough story. Now, the owner of the Mexican League team, for his part, says that Luke Heimlich has already been judged and should have an opportunity to move on with his life. But not everybody feels that way. The victim's mother says, as she was quoted in the New York Times article, "I don't believe he deserves a spot on any professional team," she said. And Brenda Tracy, who is one of the most prominent victim rights activists in the country, someone who spends a lot of time on college campuses speaking about sexual assault, educating football players and other athletes, sharing her own personal experience, which includes being raped by 4 football players when she herself was at Oregon State University as a student. Brenda Tracy, who by every report that I've read and heard about is a woman of remarkable strength and courage, she has stated that she finds Luke Heimlich signing really problematic. In that same New York Times article from March 7th, she says, quote, "This softens him because someone is giving him a so-called second chance. It is paving the way for a team in Major League Baseball to sign him. They will say Mexico signed him, so we are not the only ones. We were not the first ones to do this, and that is wrong. It is ignoring the victim, and it is wrong." And then she added this, quote, "As I've said before, second chances do not have to include playing sports, especially pro sports, because in our society, we put these athletes up on a pedestal." And this is where it really gets tough, because there is no one, absolutely no one, who will have anything but anger and just a sense of outrage at child molestation. No one would ever condone what Luke Heimlich is accused of and what he pled to. No one. And yet, having said that, we do have to deal with this uncomfortable question of second chance. And does Luke Heimlich deserve a second chance? The owner of the Mexican League team believes that he does, but he's in the minority. And while I understand the position of Brenda Tracy and the passion of Brenda Tracy, I do think it's problematic. I do think it's problematic when he is specifically cited by her and also by the mother as not being deserving of playing pro sports. Why is that? Why shouldn't he be allowed to pursue a career in baseball? He has the talent and the ability to do it. It's not a profession that is directly related to what he was accused of and what he pled to doing. I get it that there are some professions which should be off limits to Luke Heimlich. Professions that require dealing with children. He shouldn't work in a daycare center. he shouldn't teach youth sports. And if he were to become a professional athlete, there perhaps should be some restrictions on him being able to host youth training camps. I get that. But to say that second chances do not have to include playing sports, it implies that Brenda Tracy and perhaps others would be fine if he worked at Home Depot, or if he was a landscaper, or if he drove tractor-trailer trucks. But who gets to decide that? If there is someone out there like Jose Antonio Mansour, the owner of the Mexican League team that offered Luke Heimlich a contract, who wants to give this man a second chance, or give him a chance, because he's never played professionally before, to give him a chance to play professional baseball, then who's to say that he is not deserving of that? It's a fine line. And again, I do believe there are some professions that should be off limits, especially if it's in any way related to the crime of which he's been accused and to which he pled guilty. I get that. But I don't understand trying to bar him from playing baseball. And I have to say a word about the mother, because I understand her pain. Not because I've been there. I'm just saying factually, I get it. I do. I understand the pain and the frustration and the heartache that she carries. Anyone who listens to this podcast will know at the top of every podcast, I will say, "What's up, Joe? What's up, everybody?" And you should know that Joe is my son, Joseph Fannell. And Joseph worked with me, 22-year-old young man, full of promise and potential. And on June 4th, 2015, Joe was on his way to work, 3 minutes away from the office, when a 74-year-old man driving a minivan sped through a red light, avoided a car that was in a lane, stopped at the red light so that he could proceed through the red light, and he barreled through the intersection and T-boned Joseph's car. Joseph died the next day of his injuries. And that driver, under the law, was simply charged with traffic citations. That wasn't acceptable to me, my wife, my family, or anyone who cared about Joseph. But that's what the law said. And I understand that for this young girl's mother, that what the law said regarding Luke Heimlich, she probably finds nowhere near satisfactory, given what she believes happened to her daughter. I get it. Sometimes in situations like this, the law simply is ill-equipped to deal with the pain, the heartache, and the loss that is occasioned upon innocent people by others. But having said that, I still think we need to be careful about saying what we believe someone should now deserve to be able to do with the rest of their life, because we walk around with a hole in our heart. And so I understand the mother's pain. I understand Brenda Tracy's passion. And my hat is off to Brenda Tracy for what, again, everything I read is just remarkable work that she is doing. But I believe that Luke Heimlich should have an opportunity to play professional baseball. He was 15 when he pled guilty to this heinous act. The court laid down certain requirements that he had to fulfill, and by every account, he fulfilled everything. And if not for that clerical error, his status as a sex offender never would have been known publicly. And now he's in a position where someone is offering him a position to play professional baseball. And because of the image, because of the potential public backlash, because this is the type of story that leaves people uncomfortable to the point where they don't even want to leave a comment on social media, much less hire the young man. It seems to me that folk would just rather Luke Heimlich go away. Brenda Tracy said that his signing is ignoring the victim. Under no circumstances should the victim be ignored here. Under no circumstances should the victim be cast aside, discarded, or forgotten. But I also believe that Luke Heimlich should not be discarded, ignored, or forgotten. I believe he deserves a chance to play professional baseball. I also believe and know that there are going to be many people who don't agree with this, and that's fine. But at least we should be able to deal with it, talk about it. At least we should be able to face it head on. I didn't bury the lead. I believe Luke Heimlich should be able to play professional baseball if there is some team out there that wants to give him that opportunity. That's it for me. Jeff Fannell, Sports 360.